What's up, guys? Welcome back. This is a Sony opinions and reactions. I'm AverageKiwiGuy, and oh my god, what a conference that it Sony kicked ass with that performance, man. It was just fantastic. They were like, we're just gonna show you games, and we're gonna throw a little bit of our hardware with the Sony VR like when it's coming out sort of reveal, and then we're going back into games again. And they put out a lot of stuff and a lot of kind of new things that not many people kind of knew was coming. And they had gameplay behind it as well, and they knew what they were doing. They had an orchestra doing the music for the trailers. It was epic as hell. It like they start up the stream, like they start up the conference, and the composer comes out and they just start playing, and then it was like epic music, and everyone's like, man, I think this is gonna be God of War. I think it's gonna be God of War. Like, sounds like that music sounds kind of Viking Norsey, because obviously it got leaked yesterday, God of War, which is a bit of a shame, but I never saw it. I never knew what was gonna happen. But it did sound like that. It sounded very fighty, very like rah rah rah. But then they came, and then the dude came out. He's like, he had a very good thing. He talked about the atrocities at in Orlando. My heart goes out to them as well. I think on a note there, every one of these conferences, they did that, and I think that was huge. It's very good. It's nice to do that from the gaming community. So big thank you to them for doing that. But yeah, so it was very cool. They're back in their old theater where they normally were. Very grand looking. It was packed. There were so many people there, and it looked good. And it was like, the stage was simple. It wasn't like Microsoft's where they got multiple stages every goddamn where. They were cool. It was more like inside the actual stage itself. I think they used one of the upper decks things to put their guys that were playing couple of the games. But other than that, it was pretty simple. They had like a kind of a slope on the stage, which they used to project the game and as a walkway sometimes. But yeah, it was good. It was a very simple but very cool presentation and stage. It was very fast paced. It was intense, and I enjoyed it. It had very little talking. I'd say maximum 10 minutes of talking, and the entire thing spread out like about 3 breaks from gameplay, game trailers and gameplay footage. It was very good. They were like, no, we're not going to get developers out here to talk about it. We're going straight through all the trailers. We're going to show you everything we want to show you. And they had good trailers, good everything. It was good games, and I thoroughly enjoyed it all. So first up, it was God of War, the music. It was very, very cool. They showed a little boy. You've obviously seen the trailer. It was, the kind of little boy playing around, and then like his father calls him in, and then the big reveal, it was Kratos. And yes, he's in Norse. I think people are like, why is he in Norse? He was Greek and blah 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 blah. It's like, dudes, he was a motherfucking god. He could go wherever the goddamn hell he wants. But to be honest, after that, Kratos is probably, if you took Kratos out of this game, you would probably not even know it's a God of War game. It had a much more like an RPG feel. It actually had more of a like a Witcher 3, Last of Us feel, and it was very, very cool. I loved the look of it. I loved the feel of it. I think the way that God of War used to be, it's kind of been played out. I think they needed to take a new turn, and this was very good. It was very cool. The world looked fantastic. I don't know how big it is. They never showed a map. They never showed how far. but they were getting points in like tracking and things like and archery. So there's obviously going to be hunting things, which is going to be very cool. So I think they're going to go for more of an open world stuff. Maybe like Uncharted 4. So it's kind of like a semi open world. So like more of a large corridor, which should be fine with me. I prefer games like that. As long as it's a good solid story and a decent length, I don't mind. But it was more like an RPG, not a brawler. Still the fights were still epic. He had this badass axe, which was like an ice axe. And then like the boy he could use as a bow, he used lightning. It was cool. It was very cool. I love the look of it. Kratos is like old now, and I'm pretty sure that the boy that's in the trailer calls him father. And I think, and they have this moment where Kratos doesn't know to be more of a sympathetic, caring father, or more that tough father that everyone would think Kratos would be. And he sort of chooses the tough side. And then they span out and they show the world, and it's this big, massive kind of like Skyrim looking world, but it's like what Skyrim would be if they actually made it now. There was a big dragon. They battled these trolls, these big, huge trolls, and the scale of the battle was cool. The particle effects looked fantastic. The game looked great. The game looked fantastic. I don't know if it can run like that on a PS4, but it looked good, man. It looked very good. I was majorly impressed with that. Mainly because, like, I was played out on God of War. I had had enough of it. I honestly had no interest in it. So, it was, like, I didn't really interest in when I heard it was going to come back, I was like, oh, do we really need another God of War? But this one was fantastic. So they never gave a release date on that one, which is a bit of a shame. But I'm looking forward to it. I actually am looking forward to it. Hopefully they can show us more of the world, more of what's going to happen. They never showed the boy's mother, and they kept referencing her, so maybe she's going to be like a Norse god, or like a Valkyrie or something. Imagine if she's a Valkyrie. That would be so cool. Very, very cool. Yeah, it just looked great because it was a great start to the thing. It really kicked it off in a very good way. It was like the first hit that was just like, bam, we're into it, and it was very, very good. Then they brought out a new IP called Days Gone. And it sort of started out, and everyone was like, man, is this Last of Us 2? Like, it had that look to it, and it was very much like, man, this like, it was a kind of like post-pandemic sort of thing, like it was kind of like Last of Us. Like, there's bodies everywhere. It was like decrepit houses, and there's no electricity and stuff. But they showed the guy, they showed a biker guy. Apparently he's like a bounty hunter. And obviously he's lost his family, he's lost his wife, and now he just hunts people. He just hunts people, and, but it is a zombie, game. It is a survival game. I will skip. What they did was they showed us the cinematic trailer of this, and it sort of showed the world. It was very open world looking, and it looked very cool. But they never really showed what like the zombie thing was. But then at the end of the conference, they showed us a gameplay trailer, and that was very, very cool. So it basically, it's kind of like, it starts off and he's going through and he's scavenging stuff, and there's like wolves and stuff, and he scares them off, and you're like, oh, okay, this is gonna be like maybe like raiders or something like that. Then like this golem looking little zombie dude, he sees that, and the golem dude runs off, and then he gets into this room, and they attack him, and he goes up onto the roof chasing this guy, and then the guy tackles him and falls into this horde of zombies. The most impressive thing I saw in this part was the way the zombies acted. They acted like this mass of flesh just rolling at you, just like a wave. It was very much like, I guess, like World War Z. You know how like the zombies would make like columns and they would climb up, and they're just like this mass of like bodies everywhere? That was what it was like. And he was like shooting them, and they died very quickly, but there were so many of them, they were like waves just folding over each other. And this may be like the only zombie movie I may actually play. It just, most of the time zombie games don't interest me. But this one, it seemed kind of cool. It seemed very cool. I was impressed by it. There are a lot of people thinking that this is going to be in the world of Last of Us, because it looked very similar. It looked very similar. But it had nothing connected, like the trailers didn't connect it at all. So, it still looked cool, and it still looked like exciting, and I think it's gonna be something fun. It's gonna be something fun. It's gonna be something cool, and hopefully, it will be interesting. And it had an actor, I can't remember his name. He was Starkiller in Star Wars Force Unleashed, and he's done a lot of other game stuff too. And he's like with Loot Crate now. He's been showing up a lot more. Like, he disappeared for a while, but he's started up a lot more. But yeah, it was fun. It was cool. Then after that, they dropped The Last Guardian. So obviously this has been a big thing with Sony the past few years. Last Guardian. Everyone wanted it, and then once they're finally releasing it, it looked kind of old. It looked too old. But they kind of, but it looks like they've adjusted it to look more like artsy kind of aesthetic. So it's like it's on purpose now. But it was very cool. It's obviously going to be very emotional. They had like this point where the Guardian was hurt, and I was like, no, don't hurt the Guardian. It's like, no. They're obviously going to do like very emotional scenes, and it looked very cool. And it's kind of like a puzzle platformer kind of thing. It looks very cool, but the biggest thing for this is that they gave us a release date. 25th of October, this thing is dropping, and it looked cool. It was Last Guardian, The Last Guardian. It's what you would expect from it. We've been seeing this a lot, every Sony one, ever since they showed a glimpse of it, like, what was it, 3-4 years ago? So it's finally nice to see it coming out and be and finally come into the light, I guess, is the thing. Like, let us play it. So that was cool. Then probably one of my highlights of this entire conference, which was pretty big, was Horizon Zero Dawn, which was that sort of like primitive sort of bow and arrow lady with the red hair with robot dinosaurs. This looked awesome, man. It had a beautiful world. It was very open. It's an open world thing. It's got this mixture of being kind of like the wildlings in Game of Thrones, but with like technology. And she has like this scan where you could see like these corrupted like metal dinosaurs, like what their weaknesses were, things like that. And they showed off a lot of the equipment. Like, they had different types of bows. She had this staff thing. She had this like rope launcher, and I think this was one of the most exciting parts about it. she needed to go to a place that was quite far off, so she needed a mount. So she goes to an area where these like bull type robot animals are, and she like shoots this robot thing with like these rope darts, and she pins it down, and then she uses the staff thing to like override its controls, and it becomes your mount. It becomes your mount, and I think you can do this to nearly any of the things. Probably like any of the more like mount-sized things. Obviously, you wouldn't be able to do it with the big ones, but like I think with the majority of these like selected things, you can make them like either your companions or your mounts. That was cool, and you can fight on them, which I thought was awesome. Because they showed a bit of combat with this corruptor thing, which is corrupting all these mechanical animals and stuff. And like they was showing off like the different things, like you can create these bombs, and the thing was weak to fire, so she lured it in and then shot it with a bow, and it all set on fire. And then it was basically showing off the combat, and the combat looked like a lot of fun. It's obviously got crafting in it. Had a lot of different like movements, and animations were very, very cool. They had dialogue options, so it's got this RPG very much thing to it. It looked cool. It looked very cool. I'm psyched to play that one. It looked like a lot of fun. Hopefully it's not shallow, like it's not like ultra shallow, and this is all there was, but hopefully the story's good and exciting, and it's cool to see something kind of different and cool, and mixing together like some futuristic with some primitive, and it looks like a lot of fun. It looks like a lot of fun. Then we came to one that was kind of weird. It was a little weird to get when you've watched it the first time. Detroit Become Human. Now, I'm pretty sure this comes from David Cage. This game was very interesting. All it was a cinematic trailer. It sort of showed what the game was about. It's basically, it is David Cage. It basically was, this girl has been held captive by an android, and it's all about android, and the guy that you're going to play is an android, and he comes in to solve this problem. The android's taking control of this. It's taken the girl hostage. She's got her out on a balcony. He's killed 2 cops that have tried to get her away from her, and he's freaking out. And you have to go in and decipher what's going on, and solve the issue, and find the best resolution to this game, to this situation. And basically what we saw was him try a whole bunch of different things, and all end differently. Like there was one where he was like, you were made to serve humans, why are you doing this? And he's like, no, I'm making decisions now. And he just falls off with the girl, and the guy can't, and your character can't grab her, and they both die. And then they're like, but we can, and then it goes back and does it a different way. Like he comes out with a gun, and he says, no, I have a gun. And then there's another time where he lies that he doesn't have a gun. And it's all about making these different decisions to find the best, conclusion to the scenario that you want. And obviously you're going to go through this. It was very future tech. It was very different. If it's David Cage, it's going to be probably a little bit of a mindfuck in there. It's what it is. I thought it was interesting. I thought it was very interesting. We'll see how it comes out. David Cage, he makes interesting games, to say the least. He makes interesting games. So I think that was very interesting. And interesting to see how the game develops. Like, are all the scenarios the same? It showed like 30 different resolutions to this confrontation, and I doubt all of them have that. So it's probably like select points through the story where you get this. But if it's a good story, I don't mind. But yeah, so that they showed that one. That looked very cool. Then they brought out this demo. Not this demo. This trailer, and it was very freaky. It was very intense, and they said like at the start, this is for VR, like Sony VR. And we're like, holy shit! Okay, we're getting the VR section. Awesome. And it was like before Kitchen, and apparently Kitchen was a VR thing they did at the last E3. It was like a VR horror demo that they did for them. So it was like a kind of like a tease to this. And the guy's going through the house, and the house is all moldy and decrepit, and there's bugs everywhere, and there's like flickers and stuff, and the TV comes on, and it's like, it's like very horror sort of like. I was like, nope, this is not. I am not doing this. I will never do a horror game with my VR. That's not going to happen. But they were like, it was going through, and it was very creepy, and like it puts a videotape in, and it's like people freaking out and like getting murdered, and it was like, I was like, no. And then at the end, then they start going through these clips, these cutscenes and stuff, and it was like very strange. And like, what the hell is this? This is like PT. Everyone thought it was like, holy shit, is this Kojima? And has he got PT off of freaking Konami or something? But it ended up being Resident Evil 7. So Resident Evil 7 will be fully played through in VR. It has gone back to the old school Resident Evil, where it was more horror based and more like atmospheric and things like that. So that was very interesting. And also, you can play a demo of it, obviously not in VR, but you can play a demo of it on PlayStation Plus right now for the next week, I think. So, and you play it, it's like called the first hour. So maybe it's the first hour of the game. It was very interesting. Very interesting. Then probably the big like hardware release for PlayStation. Everyone kind of wanted to know what was going to happen with it. Was PlayStation VR, and they announced it October 13th, 2016. This shit's coming out $399 US. So that's a thing. It's coming out with 50 games. But how many of these games are actually worth playing, I don't know. And it can be the way they were saying it, and obviously it will be because the Neo is not coming out before October 13th. It's compatible with your standard PS4, which I was very worried about. I was like, man, I don't want to have to buy a console and the VR to get the VR to work. I'd rather than just spend money on the Oculus and get it for my computer. So that's the thing. It is a bit of a worry because the PS4 may not be able to create very good like high resolution VR games, which is a bit of a shame. And maybe the frame rate's going to be at 30, but I don't know if that's bad with a VR thing. I'm willing to try it. I'm buying one. I've got it pre-ordered. It's going to be very interesting to see. I bagged on PlayStation VR being the more suitable one of the three. Like the one that's going to get probably the more games fastest. So it was very cool to see. And then they start like, okay, we're going to show you some VR stuff coming out. So they first show this game. They were kind of like on Mars, but it wasn't Mars because they had a planet like very close to the planet. So it was this alien planet. They're going through. He's got a gun, so it was obviously a gun. And you're in the spacesuit, and you're sort of talking to people, and they're going through exploring things, and you start seeing these alien things, and then they start showing combat and things like that. So that's kind of cool. And I think this is all going to be done with the PlayStation Move controllers. And it was very cool, or obviously the standard controller, I'd say. And like it was more moving around, and it was very cool looking. Hopefully it's a full-fledged game, or else it's kind of a poor tech demo of it. but it was an exploration shooter type game. It was very cool. And like the spaceship, yeah, your spaceship gets blown up and crash lands. I liked it. I think it looked very cool. That got me hyped for PlayStation VR and what's coming for it. I liked it a lot. Then it was like, holy shit, the orchestra started playing the Star Wars theme, and we're like, oh my god. And we're like, Star Wars, and then it showed the X-Wing, and the X-Wing, you're in the X-Wing bloody cockpit and stuff. But it was the Battlefront VR X-Wing mission. Now, it just said mission. And I was like, is it just a mission? It's like, I better get this shit for free since I own Battlefront. I mean, it looked awesome. It was like, holy shit, I get to be in the thing. But it was like this faint hope of it being like a new X-Wing v TIE Fighter. But it still looked awesome. It still looked very cool. I was very psyched for it. And it was all very quick. It was all very quick and it was done. So this is going to happen very quickly, me explaining it as well. Because they didn't show us much. Then after that, they had Mark Hamill doing his Joker voice. And he was doing the Joker. And it was like explaining like what happens when you become something that you pretend to be. And all the rest of it. And it was going through it all. And then it was like, bam. The bat cowl with the eyes lit up. Batman Arkham VR coming with the PlayStation VR when it comes out. But it showed absolutely nothing. It showed no gameplay. It showed absolutely nothing what they're going to do with it. But it was like, holy fucking shit, I get to be Batman in Arkham. Please be a full solid game. And it's been made by Rocksteady. And Warner Brothers. Hopefully this thing is good. Hopefully this thing is good, because holy shit, if I get to be Batman, I'm done. I'm done. I'm happy. That pays for the VR completely. That looked very, very cool. Very, very cool. I was quite hyped for that. I was very happy with that. Then they showed Final Fantasy 15. It was more gameplay footage, like he was running around on a chocobo and sort of drifting on a chocobo, and it had like dubstep music in the background. It was very cool. And then they were doing some more fighting stuff. The boys chilling out in the car, more of the bosses and stuff. It was very cool looking. Final Fantasy 15. We've seen a lot of it lately. I'm psyched for that game. I'm keen to play it. I'm keen for the bro trip. Looks very cool. But then at the end, they showed what looked like a tech demo, which was called Final Fantasy 15 VR Experience. Now, you get to play as one of them. I think it's like, his name's like Profos or something like that. He's like the blonde one everyone loves, the funny, goofy one. And it's basically a shooter. You play as him in VR. You see the boys running around doing their thing. And then you're in VR and you're shooting. And you can teleport with a gun. But it's all just shooting. It looked very basic. But in the Final Fantasy 15, world, the graphics may not be as good, but it looked fun. If you get it free with Final Fantasy 15, if you buy it on PlayStation, I think that'd be cool. I think that'd be very cool. Then after that, which was a surprise highlight for me personally, it started off with like, you weren't sure if this was VR or not. And you're on this ship, and you're going through like this battle preparation, and you're going to go and take this other ship. And you go into this hangar, and you got these jets all in there. You're on this big spaceship carrier, and you're all like, you're in the fighter hangar. And you get into the jet, and you're like sitting there, and it looks really cool. And you put the helmet on, and you're getting ready to launch, and you launch out, and then you're in this epic space battle, and it looks so cool. And we're like, shit, is this VR? And like the dude jumps out, and then we suddenly realize, nah, man, this is Call of Duty Infinite Warfare. And like they pulled, they like did the they had grappling hooks. They pulled the Titanfall 2 grapple to the guy and kill him. But they did that multiple times in multiple different ways. Like you just like pop the guy's grenade on him. You could like take his mask off in space. You could crack him in the skull. It was cool as hell, man. And the space battle looked awesome. For me, who doesn't really like Call of Duty games, this is like, yeah, this might be the Call of Duty game I play. Because it looked like, I have not been excited for a Call of Duty single player ever, but this one, it looked badass as hell, man. It looked fun and intense and some clever things. And if you use those jets all the time, I'm down for that, man. I'm down. Space fighter like dogfights. I'm down for that shit, man. That looked so cool. I may be one of the only ones, but the people I was watching with, they liked it too. They thought it was cool. It would be cool if that was VR. That would be awesome. But that was very cool to see. And I think it was kind of like Call of Duty, like, we're trying to catch up to Battlefield 1 by showing you some gameplay as well. And for me, I actually got more excited about the Call of Duty Infinite Warfare single player than the Battlefield 1. Because after seeing Battlefield 1's gameplay, I was more worried, like, is this gonna be like Battlefront, or is this gonna be your own separate thing? Because it looked more like Battlefront to me. So we'll see how that fight turns out. So that's coming out the 4th of November. So that's not too long to wait for. That's gonna be after Battlefield 1. So and then they showed Call of Duty Modern Warfare, the remaster they're doing. Bit of nostalgia there. Kind of cool to see. They showed some old missions, and I was like, oh yeah, I know that one. That was cool. That was cool. So that comes free with the game if you pre-order, I think. It may came standard. I'm not sure. Then the big boss man walks back out, and he's like, and they play the Crash Bandicoot song, and they got the shadow of Crash Bandicoot walking along with them, and we're like, holy shit, is this gonna be a new Crash Bandicoot game? We're like, oh man. They get to it, and it was like, he goes like, oh no, we're like, yes, we're bringing Crash Bandicoot, we're working with Activision to bring it back, yeah, but we're just doing remasters of all the Crash games, all the Crash Bandicoot games, so 1, 2, and Warp. So yeah, so they're doing remakes of that for the PS4. It's like, okay, but I mean that might stir some. Oh, and they're also putting him in Skylanders Imaginators, where like you can make your own Skylander. It's Activision's moneymaker. It's a kids game. They do well with it. So yeah, so Crash is gonna be in that. And honestly, I didn't really like the look of Crash in there. He looked a little too like Tasmanian Devil like looking. He looked very ragged. But it was still cool to see. It's still cool that they're like, yeah, we're gonna do some Crash Bandicoot stuff. I was quite happy with that. So yeah. Then they started playing Star Wars again. We're like, oh, what are they doing? And it was Episode 7, the Lego edition. Had the typical Lego humor. It's out in 2 weeks, and they got a demo out for it now. I think on PlayStation Plus. Have a look around for it. If you're into that, it looks cool. It basically goes through the Episode 7 in Lego. That's cool. Lego games are fun. I've enjoyed my odd Lego movie. This one's all voice acted with the movie quotes and stuff. Obviously, I think they just took from the movie the the voices. I don't know if any of them actually did do some voice acting for it, but it's cool. Then they come out. And they start talking about like the creativity and stuff and all the rest of it. And of course they go, and now here's probably one of the most creative guys we've ever met. And it all goes dark, and this one spot lights up, and boom, it's Kojima. It is freaking Kojima, and he gets like this lit up pathway. He walks down, and he's like, "Hi, I'm back, and here's my game that I'm doing." And oh my fucking god, in my notes for this game, which is called Death Stranding, I just have what the fuck. It's got Daryl from freaking Walking Dead. And the dude was connected by an umbilical cord to a baby, which he picks up, and he's like crying because I think it's dead. And then the baby disappears, and there's like crazy ink handprints walking over him, and he's covered in handprints, and all the fish and sea, like all the animals are dead. It's like, what the fucking hell? And we're like, okay. So then, and they had like 5 flying dudes in the background, and everyone was like, what the fuck is this shit? We don't know what this is. And yeah, it was just Death Stranding, and Kojima's making it. So it was a total mindfuck, but that's Kojima. It's like one of the biggest. He loves trolling people, and hopefully we'll see more later on. And he said they had nothing to show, and he pulls this out. He loves doing surprises, and everyone lost their shit. And yeah, so it's obviously going to be a pretty fucked up game. And then on the last sort of announcement, they did have Days Gone gameplay after this, but they did some stuff from Insomniac, which are the guys who do like they do Infamous. They are doing a very cool looking Spider-Man game, and holy shit, it looks cool, man. It looks awesome. Had sort of some gameplay by the looks of it. It looked kind of like gameplay, but it could have been pre-rendered. But he was like zipping around, Spider-Man style. He was flipping around. The voice actor, I'm pretty sure, is the guy who does the Ultimate Spider-Man cartoons at the moment. Sounds very, very good Spider-Man. The suit's a little different. He's got like this big white spider logo on it. It looks cool, man. It looks cool. I'm very psyched for that. I was actually someone who didn't mind Infamous 2. I actually really kind of liked it. I like the feel of it. I like the look of it. And if they can make a cool Spider-Man game, man, I am all in. I'm all in for that. And they never really gave anything like what they're gonna do with that, like when it's coming out or anything like that. But hopefully we'll see more later on. But yeah, overall, man, Sony kicked ass. They won E3 with this. It was awesome. They were just like, bam, 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 bam. Here's all of the cool games that you guys wanted. They didn't show any Kingdom Hearts, like 2.8 and 3, whatever they are. They didn't show any No Man's Sky. Nothing of it. Absolutely nothing. And they didn't... and everyone thought they were going to drop Red Dead 2. Red Dead Redemption 2. But they didn't do it. So, maybe that's going to be later on in the year. I don't know. But none of that. And obviously they didn't have the Neo there. They announced that earlier on. They were like, no, we're not going to bring the Neo there. And they said nothing about it. Nothing. It was all games, then VR, then all games after that. And it was very similar. Very similar. Not very similar. Very short amount of talking in this stream. in this conference. Very small amount. And it was good. And it was intense. And it was like, bam, bam, bam. I loved it. It was great. I give this 9 out of 10. 9 out of 10. I was a little disappointed with how much they showed of the VR stuff. I want a little more. But, yeah. Alright. That's it for me. That's going to be all the E3 coverage you're going to get from me. I got to get back to streaming tomorrow, so... Oh, it's been a long day. I've been up since 4 a.m. This is my last video I'm making, so hopefully you guys are enjoying it. I am AverageKiwiGuy. I am a Twitch streamer. Check me out at twitch.tv/AverageKiwiGuy07. We stream pretty much every weekday. Obviously not this week because of E3, but... with Twitch, yeah, so hit me up there on Twitch, give me a follower, brand new stream, so thank you. It'd be great to get as many people in as we can. We have a lot of fun when we stream, so thank you very much. Hit me up at Twitter at AverageKiwiGuy there as well, growing quite well there as well, and I normally put up whatever random stuff comes to my mind, bit of fan art stuff, really whatever I'm thinking. Also, the Twitch schedule goes up there as well. So that's a good way to keep up to date with what I'm doing. And yeah, and then hit the subscribe and the like here. I'd really appreciate it. Alright, boys. I am done for the day. I'm going to sleep. I will catch you guys later. Hope you guys had a good day. Hope you guys enjoying E3. And I will see you guys later. Peace.